If you want to build muscle at home without a gym, here's the ultimate beginner guide to getting stronger. If you are a beginner and are trying to get stronger at home without gym equipment, specifically like a huge gym setup, the best thing you guys want to do is focus on getting stronger. Now, I know a lot of guys are going to talk about, volume and intensity versus all these other variables, but the key ingredient for a beginner, in my estimation, in my experience, is to get stronger. Stronger is usually bigger, and bigger is usually stronger. Now, they don't always linearly progress with one another, but as a beginner, they really do. So the key ingredient here is to focus on strength. Now, why is that? Generally speaking, a motor unit can only do so much at getting efficient before it actually has to grow and get bigger. So by putting the stress and demand and type of stimulus towards that motor unit or that muscle, you're going to force the muscle fiber to actually grow. And this will defeat anybody's genetics, okay? Like, it doesn't matter how you respond to certain types of training. If you get stronger, the motor unit eventually will have to get bigger regardless of your makeup. So that's why I think as a beginner, it's really important for you guys to focus on strength. The second reason why I think strength is a really good thing to focus on as a beginner when you're trying to build muscle is it's something that you can track the progression of. It's really hard to go to the gym, get a pump, and then come home and look in the mirror and be like, yeah, I'm seeing progress. It takes a little while for your central nervous system to adapt to the point where muscle growth is 100% necessary. And it's hard to feel good about going to the gym when you're hitting 4 sets of 10, for example, or maybe 4 sets of 15, and you're not really seeing the progress yet. The weight on the bar in those usual rep schemes, the hypertrophy rep schemes, usually go up weekly. And just that type of progress just doesn't seem to motivate beginners. So if you're a beginner, I do recommend using a strength type based workout, whether that's 3x5s, 5x5s, really doesn't matter, as long as you're focusing on increasing the weight every time you come into the gym. So that way every day or every few sessions you're seeing progress on the bar. That is going to definitely be your best bet. And again, I know we're not talking about big gym equipment here. I'll get to the equipment section of it. I know I said on the bar. I don't want to confuse you guys. I am going to talk about at-home workouts you guys can do to actually get stronger. But that's kind of the key ingredient here, guys, as you'll be able to linear progress, and it doesn't really matter what your genetic makeup is. You're going to get bigger if you get stronger. And for the last part for why you should focus on strength as a beginner when you're trying to build muscle at home, it makes you more useful. It's more likely that you're going to have to lift heavier stuff in your life. And the percentage of people that can move heavy objects is getting lower and lower, I find. So it makes you more useful. It makes you more employable. It makes you more attractive because you're going to be stronger and better looking. And it makes you just a more useful person overall. And I think that most guys out there that are trying to train, at the end of the day, want to feel good about themselves. And if you want to feel good about yourself, there's nothing more rewarding than being the only guy in the area that can do a job. That's because you're serving a purpose. And being able to be the strongest guy, get out of your car and push the neighbor out of the snow, and they couldn't do it themselves, even though he's a fully grown man around your same age. It just gives you so much more utility and obviously a little bit of bragging rights per se, I guess. It's just strength is so useful. Being big isn't useful, but it just happens to be that when you're bigger, you're usually stronger, so it looks like that. So focusing on, I can move more weight. I can carry in 20 more grocery bags than I could before, which seems silly and trivial, but in the grand scheme of things, you will notice throughout your life over the next 25, 30 years that you're going to utilize that component of your life, and that is strength, the ability to move heavy objects, essentially. So that's my spiel about why a beginner should focus on strength if you're going to actually pursue it at home as a beginner. Now, there's no point in me making this video if I don't talk about diet before all else. The problem with most guys when they come to build muscle in any environment is that they don't lock in on their diet. You hear that abs are made in the kitchen. And that's because that comes with fat loss. Well, I have great news for you. Muscle is built in the kitchen too. You can build muscle by literally doing nothing and just eating a higher protein diet. If you aren't receiving high quality amounts of protein on a regular basis and in a caloric surplus, you are not going to be able to build as much muscle on any program at all. It is really important that you're getting enough protein in and in its actual caloric surplus. And what that looks like is completely different from person to person. So for me to give you a template of what you need to do is just useless. So I am going to give you guidelines of what you should be looking at. The 1 gram per pound or 1 gram per lean mass is definitely something that you guys can utilize. Like if you're 200 pounds and you're only like 15% body fat, eating 200 grams of protein is probably a really good idea for you. But if you're 300 pounds and 40% body fat, eating 300 grams of protein, probably not. So try to stay in that lean mass area. Take your lean mass, deduct your body fat percentage from your overall weight, and use about a gram per pound of that. But if you're averagely lean, 20% or below, just use your body weight to calculate a gram per pound for protein. 99% of the people watching this video are not getting a gram per pound per protein. They're just not. I just know it. It's just how it is. Everyone I've trained, everyone I've met, daily throughout a month span, they might hit that maybe 5 times. It's not enough. You need to get about that gram per pound of protein so you guys get the biggest advantage possible when you're trying to build muscle at home. The second thing you guys need to do is be in that caloric surplus I just talked about. Now, I'd say about 70% of you guys are not in a caloric surplus when you are training, especially if you're between the ages of like 13 to say 24, 23, you're not eating enough. You guys think you are, but say the average high schooler or even early college athlete, you're going to school all day working your brain. You might be sitting down for most of the day, but then you took fitness because you're interested in your bodies and mechanics and you're just interested in that part of life. So you took fitness and you took gym because, why not? So you spend 2 hours of your day or more running around in those classes. And then you have basketball practice before that even happened because, it's basketball season and coach doesn't want to, do basketball in the evening because he wants to go home to his wife. So you had basketball practice, gym practice, fitness, and then you had track practice because you do track and field and they cross over this season. So you have all those going on at once. And then after that, you're going to go home, maybe eat, whatever mom made, and you're only eat a small bowl because you're just not hungry apparently. And then you're going to go out with your friends, but on your way to your friends, you bike there. You don't realize how many calories that burns at your age. You guys just burn way too much. And then between all the hormones and stuff you guys got going on between that age range I just outlined for you guys are burning probably near 4,000 or more calories per day to stay at maintenance. So if you go and eat 4,000 calories and say, oh my gosh, I'm at like 1,000 calorie surplus, you're probably not, especially a lot of these football guys out there. You guys are not in a caloric surplus. There's a reason why you're skin and bone. It's because you're not eating enough. You're not a hard gainer. You're just not eating enough. So it's really important that you guys eat enough calories. What I would do is try to punch it into a calorie calculator, try to get an idea of how many calories you're burning with your daily activities that I just kind of outlined what your days sometimes look like. You walk home from school, etc. Look at that and then estimate how many calories you're burning and then add 500 calories to that. So you're at that 500 calorie surplus. The problem is a lot of you guys think, 2,000 calories plus 2,500 calories, I'm in a surplus. That's not the case for most of you guys out there. For example, my brother who only weighed $180 eats around 4,000 to 6,000 calories a day on average. I know that's a huge range, but that depends on what he's got going on. He's that case where he did have gym class twice. He did have, a whole bunch of practices and stuff going on, and they did have overlap, and he did walk home. And once you look at that, and he was 14, he's burning 4,000, 5,000 calories in a day, so he has to eat above that amount. And that is super important to know for you guys. And he didn't get fat, he just built lean muscle. If you're a beginner, try to just focus on those two things. I don't want to get into macros and all those crazy ideas and philosophies that do work and they are important, but if you're a beginner and you just need to focus on these two things. You need to focus on getting stronger and getting your diet locked in. And when it comes to getting your diet locked in, that's the protein intake and getting an actual caloric surplus. This is for the guy that's skinny and trying to get bigger. If you're overweight, you have a completely different scenario. I'll have to make a different video for you guys because you guys are a specific demographic of people that need certain guidance to understand where they are and where they need to be going for their goal. So for the average skinny dude, just eating a caloric surplus, make sure you're eating a gram per pound per protein and focus on getting stronger. So for you to build muscle at home, you need some form of equipment eventually. Now, I don't like talking about this because no one wants to hear this, but the truth is, okay, in my estimation, that at a certain point, your body weight is not going to be enough for you to build muscle. Okay, so you can start with push-ups, you can start with chin-ups, pull-ups, whatever you guys have available to you to, get stronger, some maybe body weight squats. But the reality is that weight is not going to be enough stimulus for you to grow enough muscle. It's just really hard to progress on that because once you get past a certain point in repetitions, you're kind of just doing cardio. In my estimation, 25 push-ups isn't strength training anymore. You've passed endurance. You're pretty much at cardiovascular activity. So it's kind of difficult for me to sit here and tell you guys, I don't want to lie to you. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. You can do push-ups and see mass gains. You can do pull-ups and see mass gains. I'm not saying those don't work. I'm just saying they only work to a certain point before you need some type of specialized equipment. For example, if you're doing chin-ups at home, you're going to need eventually a chain with some weights attached to it to increase the intensity. So you're still progressing in strength. There's up to a certain point where rep range starts to taper off for muscle growth. It actually becomes catabolic at a certain point. If you do 75 push-ups back to back to back, it's catabolic as far as I'm concerned. So what I recommend to you is if you have no money at all, right? And you're trying to get stronger, start with the push-ups. If you have somewhere you can do pull-ups, do pull-ups. If you have a birthday coming up or something like that, get a chin-up bar. Try to get stronger. Okay, try to get a strong back, try to get decent push-ups, do some chair dips. Those are pretty good. You can add weight to your back when you're doing these push-ups eventually and scale it up. This is very difficult to do without money. Of course, anything's difficult to do without money. If you can, get a pair of adjustable dumbbells and work your way up. But in a perfect world, you would actually have some type of home gym. And home gyms are expensive. The barbells, to get a proper barbell to keep you safe over time, are expensive. The proper, rack with the right J-hooks to hold the right amount of weight for you gets expensive. The amount of money it costs for the weight itself is probably the biggest expense. So, if you're just starting out, try to find a used rack online that can hold over 1,000 pounds. I know that seems ridiculous now, but when you start moving 600 pounds, unless you're going to get money in the near future, you're not going to want to upgrade. Find a rack, find a proper, barbell, find some weights in an area you can put that. You can't put it inside your home because the amount of weight on your floor joist package is just not good, especially when you're dropping the weights, maybe something like deadlifts. Your floor joist package for your house will not enjoy that. So it has to be in the garage or, in the basement or outside. And even in the basement and the garage, the concrete underneath it, unless you have a proper platform, which again costs money, is not going to be worth it. So if you're in high school, the best thing you can do is use your school's gym. Your school has a gym. There are very few schools that I have been to personally that does not have a weight rooms, and they almost all have power racks of some sort, barbells and weights. If they don't, I'm so sorry, you're at a huge disadvantage. Hopefully your school has a weightlifting club. Hopefully your school has a fitness class that you can take to utilize their gym, or maybe you can make a deal with the people running the facilities at your school so you can use their gym. If you don't have that opportunity, maybe you have a friend that's buff. Maybe you know someone that's buff and they go to a gym. Maybe they have their own home gym and you can make friends with them, or at least hit them up and say, hey man, I'm trying to get in fitness. Most guys that are big want someone else to get big. They will be more than happy to have you there and use their gym because they're not using it half the time. They can only lift so often. So they'd love to have you and show you some things that you don't know about. Maybe you'll learn from them. So use your school's gym, use a friend's gym, And a lot of gym memberships have a buddy pass. So you can bring, I know Crunch, you can bring someone with you as long as you sign them in. So maybe your friend has a gym membership that they can bring you with. Of course, this sucks because you're working around their routine, but this gets you in the door where there's equipment that you can actually resistance train. I know this isn't at home. I know it defeats the purpose of this video for me to tell you this, but it's the truth, guys. If you don't have the money to buy the equipment, used or new, but used is probably better because it's just cheaper. But then again, if you don't have the money, you might be able to spend $10 a month on a gym membership. And if you can't afford that, utilize those 3 methods so you guys can get in a room with some heavy weight. Because for you to go and buy concrete and try to make cheap gym equipment, or for you to try to scrounge together some weird rig out of 2x4s, is just not safe and not viable for you. Again, I'm not saying a good set of dumbbells and a pull-up bar and, you know, some cheaper equipment can't get you by, but you're still investing a lot of money to get those things, and a lot of people don't have that. Wrapping up, I just wanted to go over those 3 points real quick. You know, get strong, focus on strength, linear progression. It's a fail-proof method. It will work. If you try starting strength or strong lifts, 5x5s, any one of those programs where you add weight frequently and do a compound movement is going to build you the most mass as a beginner and give you the most benefit as a beginner. Make sure you're getting your diet locked in, getting the protein in, getting those calories in. I was a lot bigger than I am now, so I know about getting calories in. And then the last thing that you guys really want to focus on is getting the proper equipment either at your home, right? I can show you my gym setup at home. It's awesome. I love it. But it is very expensive to get proper equipment. I started out with cheap equipment and the bar bent on me like over time. You don't want cheap Chinese steel. Some of the bars aren't rated for enough weight, and you'll climb in weight quick if you're dedicated. So make sure you find a gym that you can go to with a friend or buy equipment. And then lastly, why I think this method's going to work for you is because it's worked for everyone that I know. They've all gotten bigger, they've all gotten stronger, and you can too by focusing on these 3 components. If you like the video or want to see more videos like this, please do drop a like and consider, commenting whatever you think about what I've said. I know a lot of you will disagree with some of the things that I've said, some of you will agree. I just want to kind of be truthful with you guys about at-home workouts and how far they can take you. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video.